Kody Brown, star of Sister Wives, unintentionally gave away what's going to happen next, and it's not good. Although he is making a concerted effort to resolve his differences with his 3 ex-wives, their argument over Koyod Pass is far from resolved. Christine ultimately sold the family land to him for cash, even though she already had a significant portion of it. Although Kody and Robyn may have had trouble sharing the assets equally back then, they moved on. The next obstacle they faced was remodeling their just-acquired house. It brought them closer to some of life's worst realities, which they should confront. Since it appears that his yearning for a plural family hasn't vanished, the future of their monogamous marriage is once again under the spotlight. Throughout Season 20 of Sister Spouses, Robyn and Kody Brown were highlighted several times, detracting from the other spouses and their children. The couple's intriguing remarks regarding their opinions on polygamy may have tempted viewers. Their talk of never exchanging opinions on the subject of Koyod Pass has dominated the first few episodes. Fortunately, Robyn and Kody have managed their tense relationship by letting the Koyod Pass story play out naturally. Instead of seeing their union as significant, they saw it as a coincidence. In reality, his separation from his previous spouses is what caused them to become monogamous. His resentment and rejection surfaced during this season, and his fourth wife found it difficult to handle her conflicting emotions. Instead of focusing on what transpired when Robyn was introduced, Sister Wives Season 20 explored Kody Brown's viewpoint on his previous 3 marriages. However, after Christine, Meri, and Janelle left him with her, new episodes explored in further detail how his living condition evolved. He had a very different existence once they left. It was preferable for Kody to stay with Robyn alone for years rather than switching wives. It wasn't until the monogamy made his housework that he realized how horrible it was. Robyn persuaded him to support her choice and their kids. He enjoyed everything that was made simple so he wouldn't have to think about it too much. Kody therefore considered how he never felt like a married guy in his previous unions. But after he married Robyn, things really altered for him. It's possible that fans comprehended what he was saying. Instead of interfering with a plural family, the ex-polygamist adopted a monogamous lifestyle. His former way of life and desires were taken over by this. Although the future of Kody and Robyn has not yet been revealed in Season 20, he appears to continue being monogamous. However, he has expressed his opinions, which has led him to look for a new bride. But he would have less chaos if he stayed with her. Building a whole life with her has greatly diminished his obligations, which he has learned to despise in recent years. Formerly the self-assured head of TLC's Sister Wives, Kody Brown is starting to sound like a guy who is finally acknowledging that the empire he created has fallen apart beyond saving. Fans have followed him through love, turmoil, heartache, and heated arguments about faith and family for more than 10 years. However, Kody appears to have made a mistake at this infrequently vulnerable moment, exposing a terrible reality about his destiny that even he can no longer deny. This is an unavoidable and eerie reality. Now that his family's ideal has died, Kody Brown is beginning to come to terms with the possibility that his future may be marked by introspection, remorse, and loneliness. When asked about his future in a recent Sister Wives one-on-one interview, Kody's typically abrasive tone softened. He has evaded inquiries about reconciliation for years, claiming that his beliefs and plans for several marriages are unaltered. This time, however, his response was surprisingly candid. Kody looked down at his hands and said, "I don't know what comes next. I imagine myself growing old surrounded by my wives, my children, love, chaos, and noise. However, now, the house is quiet when I wake up. Too silent." Fans were chilled by that one line, "too quiet." At last, the man who had been accused of being arrogant and domineering seemed like someone who was dealing with the fallout from his own decisions. Kody's admission presented a sobering image. His identity was once based on his desire to live by the principle of plural marriage. He reared 18 children, constructed enormous homes, and oversaw a household that operated, mostly, according to his wishes. However, that foundation has crumbled due to years of stress, envy, and emotional neglect. Calling out the emotional malnutrition she experienced in her marriage to Kody, Christine was the first to leave. She remarked, "I was living half a life," before relocating to Utah. Janelle trailed behind, fed up with being referred to as a business partner instead of a wife. Even Meri, who endured years of public humiliation but held on to hope, eventually left. Kody is still legally married to Robyn, the wife that many hold responsible for the family's demise. even though she appears worn out from serving as his final emotional support system. According to people close to the Browns, beneath his bluster, Kody is dealing with severe loneliness. One insider told Starcasm, he used to say he'd never end up like his father, alone and bitter. But that's precisely what's taking place. Kody has always enjoyed having authority over his story, his family, and his religion. The one thing he lacks, though, is control because his wives are still talking openly about their suffering, and the cameras are still filming. Kody has been seen to be clearly disintegrating in recent episodes. He loses his anger very readily. Although he comes across as aggressive and abrasive, supporters can see the despair of a guy who fears his legacy is being lost. The pain in his eyes was evident when Janelle said in a confessional that she no longer trusts him. "You believe you have known someone for 30 years, he said, stated in a behind-the-scenes video. All of a sudden, you are the antagonist in everyone's tale. It may have been the most self-aware thing Kody had ever said, but it was too late. Not only is Kody's personal disintegration emotional, but it is also expensive. The Brown family's once unified income has dispersed after 3 of his 4 marriages ended. The estimated $900,000 value of Kody and Robyn's expansive Flagstaff home has come to represent their loneliness, as well as a financial burden. The other spouses, however, are now self-sufficient. Following her breakup, Christine's social media following grew rapidly, resulting in profitable brand deals and business endeavors. Meri has made Lizzie's Heritage Inn, her bed and breakfast, a successful single business, while Janelle is still doing well in the wellness sector. Kody believed for years that he was the provider, the spiritual leader who led his family in mutual sacrifice. His former followers, however, are now out-turning him and leading better, more liberated lives. It's killing him that the women are doing well without him. Disclosed an acquaintance close to the family. He once believed that they couldn't make it without his leadership. It is now up to him to decide how to proceed. Robyn is in a difficult situation because she is Kody's sole surviving wife. She used to refer to herself as the bridge and peacemaker between Kody and the others, but now she finds herself stuck in a monogamous marriage that neither of them really want. Robyn admitted in a recent episode, "This isn't what I signed up for. Being in a monogamous marriage was never something I desired. I didn't believe in that religion." Her sobs made it clear that even she, the alleged favorite wife, felt as though her dream has been stolen. Being the last person standing and the associated guilt are emotionally taxing her. One viewer commented, "Robyn looks like someone who got what she thought she wanted, and now realizes it's not a blessing, it's a curse." Fans have taken notice of her more emotional tone. Losing his marriages may not have been the most tragic aspect of Kody's demise, but rather his increasing estrangement from his kids. Many of his elder children have expressed the emotional toll of growing up in a split household, sometimes in subtle ways and other times outright. Mykelti, Christine's daughter, once alluded to her father and her relationship as complicated, while Janelle's sons, especially Gabe and Garrison, have been extremely irritated by the way the COVID-19 outbreak exposed Kody's partiality toward Robyn's family. In one of Sister Wives' most agonizing scenes, Gabe sobbed as he recalled how his father had forgotten his birthday. Fans claim that Kody's family dream emotionally died at that very time. Kody's attempts to get back in touch are now said to encounter opposition. While some of his children desire little to do with Dad, others are courteous but aloof. He damaged too many relationships, a family friend disclosed. And he is now realizing that when the love is gone, his authority as to Dad doesn't mean much. Kody breathed deeply before revealing something startling in a recent interview. "I always thought I'd be surrounded by my family until my last breath. I'm wondering now who will be there when the moment comes." It's a brutally honest admission that even he is unable to avoid the repercussions of his decisions. The guy who once advocated for unbreakable family bonds is now facing an uncertain future. Online fans have responded in a variety of ways, with some being harsh and others empathetic. One viewer said, "It's sad, but he did this to himself." Another said, "He prioritized control over connection for years. He is now discovering the consequences of everyone ceasing to pay attention." Still, a lot of people can't help but feel a little sympathetic. Despite all of his flaws, Kody's goals started out of love and faith, the conviction that several marriages could forge a strong, cohesive family. But as he learns, love cannot endure under the weight of ego if it lacks humility and balance. There is speculation that TLC may change Sister Wives to focus on Kody's quest for atonement, by examining his efforts to mend fences with his children and ex-wives. Producers are pressuring him to attend therapy, which he has previously opposed, according to insiders. According to a network source, Kody is at a crossroads. His supporters will support him if he can demonstrate genuine change. However, fans will lose what little sympathy they still have if he remains defensive and places the blame on everyone else. For her side, Christine has stated that she is amenable to forgiveness, but not to reconciliation. She recently posted on Instagram saying, "I wish him peace, but peace doesn't mean going back." Janelle has spoken more firmly. She told people he has to put in the effort. "We all had to confront our suffering. It's his turn now." What Kody didn't say in his most recent interview was more telling than everything he said. He paused for a long moment before quietly responding, "I don't think I have the heart for it anymore," when asked if he could ever picture himself accepting another wife. His once grand persona was finally revealed by this type of modest confession. The man who used to consider himself the proud head of a large family suddenly sounded like someone who had lost his identity. A father trying to reconstruct his life, a husband without women, and a believer doubting everything he had assumed. Kody Brown's error was a moment of truth rather than a controversy or an outburst. For the first time in years, he spoke as a guy dealing with grief rather than as a reality star or patriarch. Perhaps healing, rather than marriages or property conflicts, will be the focus of the upcoming Sister Wives chapter. Because Kody's narrative isn't finished, regardless of how far he's fallen. He still has the opportunity to rebuild, not the empire he lost, but something much more significant: humility, trust, and a sincere relationship with the people he has harmed. When the cameras stopped filming, Kody replied, almost in a whisper, "Maybe this is what God wanted, for me to be still long enough to finally listen." Fans witnessed the reality in that silent, agonizing admission. Kody Brown is speaking as a man coming to terms with his own silence for the first time, rather than as the head of Sister Wives.